scientist. Thank you very much for creating time for us. Now, Jamhuri Day has been celebrated. That is the 56th Jamhuri Day. And quite a lot really happened. We watched the president's speech and other leaders speaking during this particular event. Now, what was the main highlight for you in today's Jamhuri Day celebration?
I think as opposed to the Jamhuri days that have gone, today the president seems to have been under the influence of the BBI, let me say so, because we know the efforts that the president is undertaking currently. And all the pointers are pointing that the president is trying to bring Kenyans together on board and explain to them that my intention of bringing this is to take you into this. And in fact, he mentioned, there are other things that president mentioned. He mentioned that there are other the aspirations of independence, the founding fathers of this republic. There are other aspirations that they are at independent, but this has never been realized. Why? Because the president said that any time that they try to implement it, there have been always forces, either from political or from either side, that has stopped the realization of this. And he said that it reaches a time, that in fact, let me quote him from the last time, he said that it reaches a time that we say enough is enough. And so at the Jamhuri Day, the president was actually telling Kenyans that it is now enough, it is now time to implement things that we've been talking about. And you also saw the president highlighting that it would not be fair. It would not be fair to have public servants serving two roles at the same time. And that is what now brings the conflict of interest. And also the president said that he would want to have the Kenya that will inclusive. In fact, he said that in an inclusive system that will bring everybody on board. And I try to observe something. When the president said that, is actually talking about the changing of the government system. And the government system, you know, currently we have that one, the citizen, they come and vote, and then the president chosen. But there is a suggestion which is not in the BBI, but I thought they either did it deliberately, because the talk was the parliamentary system. But when the BBI came out, there was no parliamentary system. And that one, when you change you make the all-inclusive system of government, then you have to change the system of government. And that one may mean that they now include what the parliamentary system, which is not captured in the BBI. And that's why I said that those who drafted the BBI, it was carefully and tactically drafted. There are other things that they put in the BBI, but when they presented them to their bosses, somehow they say that let us withhold this and present this to get the public consensus. Then after that, we subject them into the debate about the BBI. So the debate will be around what we want them to what we want to implement. And that's why you now see, you know, they have just extended the term of the task force. Now, in my view, I think that
they still have more
this is deliberate. You know, no, this is deliberate because now it is now the time for them to implement those that they left behind deliberately. And I'm sure that the things that were left, they did that.
So in your opinion, you think there are some things that are not in the report?
It is open. It is open. That is obvious open. In fact, the BBI is the draft of the task force were drafted, the BBI, under the careful guide of the Council of Elders. And the Council of Elders here, you know, among the task force fees, they are not young. You look at the age. They are actually elders. So they guided the task force to come up with that document called the BBI report. And in fact, many of the things they discussed or they presented are highlighted from the Kofi Annan report. You know, the Kofi Annan report after the disputed election in 2007. Yeah. Many of the content of the BBI are drafted, in fact, are pulled from the Kofi Annan report and placed in the BBI. And that's why I'm saying that because you know when before the release of the BBI, the country was tensed. There was a lot of division. People were divided along the...
So do you feel BBI has brought some kind of unity?
And that's why I'm saying that since they realize that there are other things, if they are captured the BBI, then it will not get the popular support. So what they did is that they put that which was in the original report under the table, and they brought this on top of the table so that people discuss these points and
how
lead
sure
them
are you
to this
there's
point.
still something under the table? What evidence do you have to prove this thing?
You know when you had the politicians before the release of the BBI, you had them talking, saying that we will not support parliamentary system, we will not do this, we will not do this. It is obvious that they had known the content of the BBI. And because of the much noise from these other people and all those, so the drafter, the owners, maybe the president and Raila, they say that instead of what we do, that let us keep this one and bring this, so that we have these people on board. After that, we subject them to the debate that will lead them to the points that we don't raise.
Okay, you may say it's your opinion, right?
Yes, it is the popular opinion of the Republic.
Okay, now speaking about today's celebration, we saw President asking leaders not to involve themselves in the private sector, and yet in the previous occasions we've witnessed people like Honorable James Orengo, Tiende Amolo, representing people in court. Do you think this is a matter of, it is influenced by handshake kind of?
If you read the chapter 8, you know, the chapter 8 of the BBI, the page 73 of that document, it's the first paragraph says that there is a growing perception among the people of Kenya that the system that we have protect the corrupt people and as opposed to protecting the innocent citizens of this republic. And it finishes by saying that corruption has now become a serious challenge that has to be dealt with now in Kenya. And there are many issues that have risen there. Now, if you look at keenly, you will see that those that have been made to defend and help to maintain the integrity of the Constitution are actually people that when somebody is caught or someone is accused, they go and defend. And the president explained it very well. He said that you are elected senator.
Yes, to defend the public.
To defend the public. And your work is that, in fact, these governors, these people, they appear before the Senate committees where you sit.
Yes.
You
and
see?
you are here defending
and
them.
You know, and you see, when in that committee they have a lot of privileges. They access a lot of information regarding the person that sits before them. So if it is a senator or a governor like Sonko, and he goes before the committee in the Senate, the standing orders give them the opportunity to ask and access any information that they want. And they said the government, they said the governor present all the documents they need. Now, when you have the right to access the information, and you can access the entire one, and this senator or this governor is accused, you go and defend in the court. You see, you are compromising the...
But do you think that was not the case before, when we saw other lawyers who are also senators representing other people? In the recent past, we've witnessed that.
We have witnessed that,
yes.
and I think that is one of the reasons where corruption issues hasn't been solved.
Why is it now different? Why do you think the president now kind of changing his mind towards this issue? Because
enough is enough. We need to take a different direction, and that's what the president said. He said that for certain things to happen, certain decision has to be made. And I said here that the developed democracies, countries that have developed, they took serious decisions in their countries. Some of them ended up in bloodshed. You see, you know, in political science, we say sometimes that as a leader, you must be ready to taint your heart with blood. You know, even though maybe it appears to be a wrong statement or a very scaring, but you have to. Why? Because some things are done by force. Others are done by you talk to people and then they hear. And that's why war comes in. Why do states go to a war? Why do they declare war against other state? Now, war comes after all these other options fails. You know, with their negotiations, people go and talk. What if the negotiations stop? The last option that we have is war. And war, the state doesn't choose to go to war because it's one, but that is the option it has. Now, the president has chosen to take this country towards a given direction. And that's why but if you saw how he talks, he appears to be a determined person, very determined. And that's why he talked determined. So he appears to be made up mind. He has made up his mind. And that's why the decisions, even his talks these days have changed, completely changed. Some people, we were having a story with my colleague and I. We were saying that something must have happened to the president, because this is not Uhuru that we knew 2007 to 2013.
You have said enough is enough.
Right. And so that one now tells that when you see now the president making tough decisions regarding even taking the senators and the elected leaders on board, you know, it tells you that this man, there is something he has seen and is leading. And he said, you know, he said that for a long time, these issues of corruption has, you know, from 2003 to 2013, there have been a lot of acts that have been created in this country to deal with corruption cases.
But they've not been successful.
Including the Economic Crime Act. And you see in 2009, they now brought in the Commission.
So do you think this one will
ethics.
now be successful, the president's decision? Do you think it will help fight corruption?
You know, also in that chapter 8 of the BBI report, they say that the president have given a lot of directives, but unfortunately many of them haven't been implemented. And I think it is an undermining statement. Why? Because, you know, if you say that the president give a directive and people do not commit to that directive, it's like you present the president as someone who people are not taking order from him. Anyway.
Let me cut you short. Now, let's come back to the matter of the Nairobi Governor, Mike Sonko.
All right.
You watch his arrest. You watch the way he was arrested. It was quite dramatic. Why do you think that was so? Because we've witnessed other governors being arrested. It wasn't as dramatic as this one was. And it looked like it was a bit different compared to others. Do you think there's anything special about his arrest?
I think it is unfortunate that we have very terrible arrest for these governors and these are the leaders. It's obvious, it is universal that people should be treated with respect, and nobody would want to be treated with contempt. Even if you are arrested or done anything, you have to be given that respect until the court will approve you. That is when you will be able to be taken to the court. And this should be, people, the DCI and all the police and those that do arrest should be advised that you have to show integrity and also
so you feel it was
respect.
Unfair treatment?
Even if Sonko did all that the points that they raised in court, I think he did not deserve to be treated like that, because this is somebody who has led for quite some time. This is someone who other people depend on. This is someone who has friends, has a family, has children.
Okay.
You know, even the children would not be happy to see that.
All right.
And
okay, let's move on a bit quickly. Let's shift the gears now. Here is Honorable Sonko, is yet to be taken to court for judgment, or name it. And we have today's celebration. We saw the CJ missing conspicuously. He wasn't really present.
yeah.
And we expect him to perform his duty. I mean, he is the head of the courts. He is in charge.
Yes.
So what's the significance of his absence? What do you think his absence means?
You know, the role, this country is managed, we have the three branches of government. We know we have the executive, the judiciary, and the Maraga's team. The role that CJ plays in this country cannot be ignored. And the powers that the judiciary has is a big one. And you see, even for the success of the BBI, somehow can be determined by Maraga. You know, somebody can just go to court and seek for the interpretation of whether that should be taken to the referendum or not. And Maraga can just say, interpret it and say this one should not or this one should. And we've seen Maraga raising a lot of issues that the government is undermining him. Not even the government, the executive is undermining him. And he actually came openly and announced that he is not recognized and given the respect that he deserves, that office deserves. And he made it clear that if the contempt treatment that he has been receiving from the judiciary, the executive continues, then he will choose which of these celebrations and meetings he attends. And now that, you know, even myself, when the deputy president mentioned Maraga's name, I thought that the guy is in the house. Until later, I saw the seat vacant.
And it's quite interesting, the deputy president mentioned him. What do you think was going on, because here he is absent, and yet the deputy is mentioning him during at the time when he was making his speech.
Two things. Either the DP knew that Maraga was in, probably. Either for any reason he knew that maybe that guy is in the house, and that's why he went ahead and mentioning the name. Or thought that by the time he was talking, he had already seated on the seat. Or maybe the DP wanted to point to Kenyans that this guy is not in the house. You know, it is because of that some of us knew that Maraga was not in the house. So two things are happening. Either the DP knew that Maraga had seated, or he wanted us to know that this guy has actually done what he completed the threat. He's not here.
So what does his absence mean to the government?
I think that that one sent the government a strong signal that this guy is determined. And is carefully following his threat, because he had told them that he will not, and he didn't. And you see, when Maraga does so, and you see, we have seen him cutting some of the operations of the court. The court. We've seen some high courts have been closed, others services have been transferred to Nairobi, and you see, when it reaches that time, we have a problem in a country where we don't have a working judiciary, or many of the courts are closed. There's a big problem, and especially to the citizen, it is a big problem that cannot be ignored. And when Maraga does so, when he does so, then it brings confusion in a country that is run by the three executives. It actually brings confusion, and that one you saw the parliament were debating. It was debating about that, and yeah, I think the reactions from the parliament is somehow positive.
So the confusion bit of it that you've just talked about, all the arms of the government are necessary for the fight, to help in the fight against corruption. And here are some governors being arrested, yet there's a disconnect between the CJ and the president and let's say the executive. What do you think is the way forward? What can you predict?
You saw the interesting. Now you saw the CJ is saying, there was a time the CJ gave a talk and he said, I think somebody was trying to raise an issue that he should just dismiss the cases that have been presented before the court. And CJ was saying that how could we do that as judges before hearing them? We cannot dismiss a case before we listen and hear the case. Now, when the fight is between these two, the judiciary and the parliament executive, what judiciary will be doing, or any branch will be doing, is to undermine and to make hard the work of other body. Now, what will happen in this case? No, they will bring Sonko to for example, they will bring Sonko to the court, and the court will delay. There is that go slow. There's that go slow, and the people will be expecting them to give judgment, and they will not be doing that. If they are asked, they will say they don't have money to say it, they don't have that to say it. And not only that, there are other big cases that are in the Court of Appeal, and that they should
and
determine.
that begs the question of, do you think this time round justice will be served? Because we've seen other cases just going to the court, and you never hear about them for quite a long time.
Kenya is a country that is ruled by law. And we have a working constitution of 2010, and the law doesn't choose, and the work of the judiciary is to actually interpret that, and I really don't think if that one will make them to go against what the law say. And in that case, in my view, I think the judiciary, even though they may choose to do it slowly because of lack of money, but at the end of it, they will give justice where it deserves. Yes.
Now, the other agenda of the BBI, apart from corruption and the devolution matters, it wasn't talked about, that may improve the life of Wanjiku. Do you think this Jamhuri, the 56th Jamhuri Day, do you think it really cared about the Wanjiku, those people at the grassroots?
If you look at the speech that the president said today, actually there are issues that he touched on, and corruption it actually saps the development, economic growth of a country, And when you narrow it down even to the devolution, the county government, that is the problem we have in the county government. And that's why you see many governors have been invited to an interview, invited before the Senate, and have been asked questions concerning how they have used the money. When this money is not used the way it should, yes, then the person that actually feel the pain is the Wanjiku. You see, and when the allocation of these resources are not done, or the devolution, the aspiration of the devolution are not met, then it is the Wanjiku that's also that will go through the pain. And again, the reason why devolution was brought, in my view, I think that the Kenya, we felt that we needed the services close to us and brought down to where we are. And that's why the way out to do that was to bring in the county government. But
talking about bringing the services close to us, we've seen, especially the health sector, other counties are pathetic. You can agree with me. Right now, the BBI suggests the centralization of the health sector. Now, we take it back from the counties now again to the national. What's happening really?
The problem is that we are under a new dispensation of the
just as we close. Okay.
Yes. That is a problem that we have, and always when a new thing is being introduced, there are issues that normally comes in. If you look at the federal government of Nigeria, and many of the governors that served when that system was introduced, they ended up in jail. Many of them ended up in jail. Why? Because there was the thought, when they came up to be governors, there was that thinking in their mind that I'm going to do A, I'm going to do B, only to realize that what they did were against the law. Okay. And when the government began to follow, they ended up in jail. Now, I think that like health that you have mentioned, if given time, in my view, even though some county governments have run it pathetic, very badly, but others have tried. Yes. Others have tried. So that one, the success of others is a proof that even those others can still make it. Okay. And when the government a little more time, a little more time, they are now getting understanding how the country government works. Right. Then it will work.
Many thanks. All right, your closing remarks as we finalize.
My closing remark is that I really see that if the spirit that the president, we saw in the president is something to go by, and also the talks that we hear from Kenyans are also something to go by, then we will be there. All right. Yes, we will be there. Let us just be Kenya, put Kenya first, then any other things will come last.
All right. Thank you very much, Wellington, for creating time for us. We hope to have you another time.
You are welcome.
Many thanks. All right. Now that is it, the 56th celebration of the Jamhuri Day that was celebrated today in different parts of the country. Well, now we move on to